I am Captain Elder, and
I'm Captain Younger.
And we are both pilots at Cessna. We're both test pilots at Cessna. So we're here today to talk to you about aviation, pilots and what they do, and different careers in the aviation field. So I want to first start off by just kind of showing you a little bit of difference. You notice that our uniforms are different. Even though we work at the same place, the same department, I wanted to bring my old uniform that I no longer wear, except for things like this. I used to be, before I worked at Cessna, I used to be an airline pilot, and this is the uniform that an airline pilot wears, with the hat and the coat, the rings on my sleeves, let it identify me as a first officer. If there were 4 rings on my sleeve, that would identify me as a captain. And so, as an airline pilot, as I'm walking through the airport, getting on the airplane, you, the passengers, know that I'm the pilot that's going to fly your airplane. And then we have Mr. Younger here with his uniform.
And I'm wearing a uniform for flying airplanes that we test out at Cessna. So when Daniel works out there, he also wears one of these uniforms. One of these things about uniform is that sometimes in the summertime it's hot. We wear 2 different types. We wear a black one in the winter. We wear a tan one in the summertime because of the heat inside the airplane. My uniform is fire resistant, to where Daniel is not fire resistant, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit.
So basically, as test pilots at Cessna, our job is to make sure that the airplanes are safe, to make sure that the airplanes are ready for the customers who buy them, to pick them up and fly them away, and to know that those airplanes are safe and ready to fly. So that's what our jobs are as test pilots. We make sure that the people who build the airplanes do a good job, have high quality in the work that they do, and make sure that everything checks out correctly on the airplane.
Yeah, we are the final people, so to speak, that touch the airplane before it reaches the person that bought it.
So our facility is right here in Independence at the airport, right outside of town. And Mr. Younger, Captain Younger, lives here in Independence. I live in the O'Shea, just down the road. And so there's careers in aviation right here at your doorstep, right here in Independence. There are jobs for all different kinds of jobs in aviation. We'll talk about a few of those in a minute. The first thing we want to do is just kind of show you some of the stuff that we do, some of the items that we use to help us do our job as we test airplanes. So one of the first things you see is this. This is a headset. This is how we communicate with each other in the airplane. If it's a jet that we're flying, there's usually 2 pilots up front that are flying the jet. And so we have to be able to talk with each other. And it's usually loud in the airplane. So this headset helps us communicate. We can listen to each other.
Just like this.
We can listen to each other with the headphones, and we can also talk to each other through the mic. Now that headset also allows us to communicate with ATC. ATC stands for Air Traffic Control. And those are the people on the ground that give us the clearance to allow us to take off, the clearance to allow us to land, the clearance to fly through different airspaces we fly across the country. So that's what air traffic control does for us. The next item we have is smoke goggles. And in the testing world, there is the possibility, and it's very rare that it happens, but there is a possibility for things to go wrong on the airplane, for fires to happen, things to be broke. So in case that does happen, we are prepared for that situation. We have the smoke goggles available to protect our eyes. If there's smoke in the cockpit, those smoke goggles help protect our eyes from the stinging of the smoke. The other thing we have is an oxygen mask. Now on the oxygen mask, this is used for us, the pilots up front. That's what this oxygen mask looks like. No, he wasn't. So Mr. Younger is going to demonstrate. There he is. In all his getup. So while we're sitting here on the ground, right, in our atmosphere, okay, the air has a certain quality to it and has a certain density to it that allows us to breathe normally. The higher we climb, let's say we're in an airplane and we're climbing in the airplane, the thinner the air gets, the higher we go. So this airplane is a jet. It flies about 40,000 feet, which is roughly about 8 miles above us. 8 miles in the sky, this airplane flies above us. The atmosphere at that altitude is impossible for us to breathe, impossible for us to live. The air is too thin. So this airplane in particular is pressurized. It gives us an atmosphere that's the same as the Earth. If the pressurization system on the airplane would not work properly, and we are breathing the air that's outside of the aircraft at 40,000 feet, 8 miles up, then we have to put our oxygen masks on in order to breathe. So there's several different types of airplanes. The one that we're passing around, like I said, is a jet. It's an aviation, general aviation jet. So this is an airplane that a corporation or an individual would use. It seats usually about anywhere from 4 to 12 people in the back, and it flies all over the country and all over the world. The airplanes that I used to fly in the airlines wearing this uniform hold anywhere from 50 people in the back to 300 people in the back. So,
is that about the size the president uses?
The president uses one of the biggest airplanes that's made, and that's the 747. And so that airplane
Would probably be about 10 times the size of that one.
yeah.
Okay.
We also, because we work for Cessna, we get to fly jets that Cessna makes, but we also get to fly single-engine props. And those are the smaller airplanes that seat 3 or 4 passengers, 3 or 4 people. One of the other things that we get to use.
Well, we don't get to use it. We hope we never get to use it. This is a parachute. Does anybody know what a parachute does? Go ahead, right here. Well, basically, if you have to jump out of an airplane now, if there happens to be a failure to the aircraft, since we are in a testing environment out at Cessna, we're the first people to get to touch this airplane and fly this airplane. So, and it's built by human hands, so by people like us that get to build this airplane. So, what can happen is there could be a possibility of a part or a malfunction of the system or something of that nature that might actually have us jump out of the airplane, which we wouldn't want to do. Anyway, the straps on come around like this, and we put it on. But basically, what this does is we have to jump out of the airplane. This parachute, we pull this cord right here and jump away from the airplane, pull the cord, and hopefully safely get back down on the ground.
So there are many different kinds of pilots. There are many different kinds of airplanes. And airplanes are used for many different reasons. One of the main reasons is to transport people from place to place. Has anybody been on vacation where they've flown somewhere? Okay? To the beach, to Disney World, to Disneyland. You probably drove to Wichita or Tulsa, and then you flew to Orlando or California, right? So that's one of the first things that people think of when they think of aviation, when they think of airplanes and pilots, is people transportation. But Cole, in his previous life, prior to Cessna, did something else in airplanes.
I used to fly caravans, which is basically a smaller airplane, and used to be for FedEx. And FedEx, you'll probably see some of their vehicles around town that they deliver packages, and there are different many types of FedEx. But I used to fly for FedEx Air Express. So what it does is they take packages overnight, and basically they put a package that you would take from here, stick it in a FedEx box, or take it to a FedEx place where they would ship it out, and it can be anywhere in the world within 24 hours. So it's very unique and interesting. Was a unique and interesting job, and amazing how they would take packages all the way around the world within a 24-hour period.
So airplanes are very useful. They move people, they move boxes, they move cargo. They're used for air ambulance work if someone is sick and needs to be transported to the hospital. Helicopters and airplanes are used to get those people quickly to the hospital. Some of the, when I say quickly, let me give you something to kind of relate to. Have any of you driven to Tulsa or to Wichita with your parents in your car? Right? How long does that usually take?
About 15 hours.
You know, it feels like 15 hours. It's about 2 hours, you know, right? It's usually about, what, a movie and a half's worth of driving, right?
Yeah.
Okay, 2-hour drive. Now, if that model that we're passing around, if we were to get in that airplane here in Independence and fly it, the real airplane, not the model,
Yeah, the
fly
real airplane.
it to Wichita, that same flight would take 20 minutes instead of 2 hours. So think about the time that you save by flying. How long do you think it would take to go around the world?
Probably 300 hours.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking maybe weeks, right? It might take weeks if you're going by boat.
Here.
Maybe not quite that long, but it would take a long time. If you use an airplane,
That's maybe.
it's going to take 1 full day. That's it. Not a week, not a month if